Hey everyone, welcome back to the podcast. I'm honored to be joined by my guest, Karen Larrea. How are you today?
Hey, how are you doing, Dave?
I'm doing well. Where in the world are you calling me from?
Miami, Florida.
I've never been. What's amazing about Miami right now?
Oh my gosh, what's amazing about Miami? What's not amazing about Miami right now? It is we're not in January, we're February. February 12th.
What day is it?
I know, right? It's February 12th. It's 10 a.m. It's perfect 76 degrees. I look out my window and we have beaches and we have great restaurants. And even if you're not into the nightlife of dancing, there's still like adorable cocktail bars and jazz clubs. And my gosh, there's so much to do. There's little outdoor markets during the day. There's little festivals that go on, especially around this time. This is like what we suffer through the summer of like 1,000 degrees is to get our winter. So yeah,
I'm looking out my window to 4 inches of new snow from yesterday.
Oh, no. That's beautiful for like a weekend. I did that for 5 years in Boston. So.
Oh, yeah, I've never been to Boston either, but I hear that wind plus the winter, not pleasant.
It's not. And I always say I did my 5 years, even though I love Boston. Boston's a great city. I love the people. But yeah, it's not a girl who's been raised in South Florida her whole life. It's a little hard.
What is the difference in dating between Boston and Miami?
Well, I wasn't dating in Boston. I was married at the time.
Okay.
So I have no idea, but I do have good friends that live in Boston, and it is just as hard as it is in Miami. I think with Miami, it's a little bit different because all the men seem to be like promoters and entrepreneurs, but you don't know what kind of entrepreneurs because they're not very clear. And all the women, no matter what, tend to be models. So it's like, can we put down the smoke and mirrors and can we get real here?
Yeah. What is that? What makes it so difficult for dating, or is it something else?
I think also we're in the culture of, I'm just going to use, gonna like speak towards like say online dating, the culture of swipe left, swipe left, swipe left, swipe left, swipe left. If there's a little bit of maybe a disagreement, or you may voice your opinion, no matter how I'm gonna go and swipe right on someone else. So it's just, I think that's everywhere with the dating culture. I think we make people too disposable when you really are into someone and they're into you, but they may find like a little, not argument, but you're not in agreement in something, and automatically it's like, oh, I'm done with this. They don't want to put the effort, or I think they don't want to face their own triggers.
Oh, that's a very good point. Yeah.
They don't want to face their own triggers. They don't want to have to heal whatever that triggered them. And so it's easier for them to start over. But to me, that's a vicious cycle. You're just going to go from one to one to one to the other to the other. It's rinse and repeat, wash, rinse and repeat. No one wants that, not at our age.
I totally agree. And what I hear you describing is like a throwaway culture that social media, instant gratification, and dating apps has promoted.
Absolutely.
And something so important that you're bringing up is how confronting relationships are going to be.
Yeah.
And if you want a relationship, that's something you're going to have to face.
Absolutely. I mean, I think if it's worth it for both of you, don't throw it away. You have to work on that. And maybe, you know what? It may be a 6-month relationship. It may be a 6-year relationship. It may be a relationship you end up getting married, or living long-term. Some people don't believe in marriage. I happen to believe in marriage. I date to get married. I don't date. So it's, you have to either way confront that, because if not, you're not going to heal it. And you're just going to continue going through that cycle within yourself.
Yeah, very well said. I was working with a client the other morning. This is in my personal training business. He's been a client of mine for 2.5 years and a guest on the podcast and a doctorate of psychiatry, right?
Oh, wow.
So he knows what he's talking about. And we were talking about a term going around called chore play, where men will do chores in order to it's like foreplay for them.
Yeah.
We were making the jokes, my intern and my client and I, very surface level, but he said something that I wanted to reflect on at a later time. And he said, Dave, I get the impression that you like being single. And I was really surprised by that, because we don't talk about my personal life much. He knew I was in a relationship for almost a year. And then for about 3 or 4 months, he's like, "Oh, Dave, when did that end? Because I haven't heard you talk about your last partner in a while. I figured you guys ended it, but I wasn't for sure."
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm just kind of like taking an opportunity to reflect on somebody who knows me pretty well, who's
Yeah.
pretty well educated in how the mind works, how human behavior works. I'm like, okay, it's something I can take a look at there.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. And I love that you use the word reflect. A lot of us don't want to reflect because that means we have to face our lions.
Yeah, things that trigger us. And my relationship with myself can be just as confronting as a relationship with somebody else.
Absolutely. And I think if you do not heal and work on the relationship within yourself and are not happy within yourself, no one is going to make you happy. It's not about the person bringing you happiness or being able to heal you or being able to make you whole. It is about you already being there or at least working, because we're always a work in progress. We're a never ending work in progress. We're always growing. But as long as you're working towards that, a person can bring you can bring you more happiness inside, make you happier and bring that to the table to you, but they're not going to make you happy. You better make yourself happy. And yeah.
I love that you bring that up. We're recording on a Saturday today, a couple days before Valentine's Day.
Yes.
And I saw a video from a really well-known relationship and dating coach who he was saying on a first date, you need to ask yourself, can this person make me happy?
Yeah.
And I heard that and I was like, nope, absolutely not. It is not your first date's responsibility to make you happy.
No. Can you
And
be enjoying the moment and smiling and feeling good
mhm,
inside? Yeah, but yeah.
mhm.
Yeah.
Can they contribute to your happiness is what I heard you describing.
Yeah.
There's a
Absolutely.
question.
Yes. I think you cannot expect anyone to make you happy. Just like you can't expect your relationship to make you happy. You can't expect your job to make you happy, your children to make you happy if you have children, your family to make you happy. You have got to heal that within yourself and be happy, comfortable within yourself, and then people to come and contribute into your life.
Very well said. Absolutely. And, I like to share on TikTok, which is where we met originally, I think.
Yeah.
And TikTok, when used appropriately, can be a very useful tool and very helpful for a lot of people.
Yes, absolutely.
And I like to share when things come up for me, when I see what other people are talking about when it comes to dating and relationships.
Mhm.
And how did you become so passionate about sharing what you know and what you've experienced about relationships?
I about 3 years ago. Well, let me just start back. I was married for 15 years and I was 19 years with my ex-husband total. And then after that, I got into a relationship that I should have never gotten into because I was not healed. But
Mhm.
coming with being from someone since I was 20 years old, I had no idea. I had two small children. What am I doing? I had my own. I was not Karen the woman. I was Karen the mom, Karen the wife. I was never Karen the woman. So I had to heal that first. I didn't realize at that point. And then the relationship ended about 3 years ago, and it left me completely broken. And I was like, nope. I was smart enough to just say, nope, absolutely not. I'm not going back to this until I heal myself. I'm not going back to anyone until I heal myself. And I gave myself a year. And it doesn't matter. It can take you 6 months. It can take you 6 weeks. It's everyone's a timetable. My timetable happened to be, I told myself, you are doing nothing for a year. That was my own response within myself. And I
Mhm.
took a year to completely heal. I went to retreats. I did courses. I read so much. I absorbed everything I could. I do daily meditation. I started with a practice of meditation, starting to see the things that I should be so grateful, having the mindset of gratitude, having the mindset of abundance. I'm living in abundance. You may not live in that dream house that you have, but gosh, look at the amazing house I have. Oh my God, I live across the street from the beach. I live where people want a vacation. I just started things you took for granted, things I took for granted upon myself, things I accomplished in my life, even if it was as small as, always being there for my children. I just took, that's my job. That's my mom. I'm a mom, or if I did
Mhm.
anything professionally, oh, well, okay, great, Karen, pat on the back, move on. I never gave myself, like just that self-love. So I always gave everyone else love except myself.
Mhm.
And so I started on that journey, and then I gave myself a year. I went back into dating, And lo and behold, I thought I found my dream man. Thought I found my dream man. He was absolutely amazing. Then all of a sudden it started clicking in my head. Hold on, he's love bombing.
How quickly?
Oof, immediately. I mean, it
A
took
week
me
or
like
two?
exactly 2 weeks because
Hmm.
I was on a cloud, like, oh my gosh, yes, finally after this, all the bad things of my marriage, all the bad things of my ex relationship, which I had my 50% blame. Listen, I'm not putting the blame on those people. So
Hmm.
I fully take my responsibility. But I was like, oh my gosh, finally, this is the man who's going to treat me how I treat someone. Because when I'm in a relationship, I really give myself completely. That is my person. I am your biggest cheerleader. I am the person that I'm going to be there for you. It's what I feel you should be in relationships. I would say I want to be a queen. So gosh, yes, for sure, he's going to be treated like a king. By me.
Yeah.
So, well, I got love bombed badly, badly, and started realizing it. But sometimes you have those rose colored glasses that are like bright red shining at you. And the pandemic hit.
Hmm.
Thank God the
Yeah.
pandemic. And then I don't want to get into it, but I caught him doing some things. And I was like, no, Karen, stop. You were not ready. And thank God the pandemic hit. And I went right back into healing myself. And again, and I think I'm in a great place now. I'm in a really good place. 3 years of healing, but I'm in a really good place.
Yeah. Thank you very much for sharing. That resonates so much. The
Yeah.
pandemic and the solitude that came along with it within the first few weeks, few months of the pandemic was really healing for me in a lot of ways.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, I was working out twice a day. I was meditating twice a day. I was absorbing self-help books. I mean, it was just me and my 2 kids, and they're so self-sufficient. I mean, I have a 13-year-old and a 20-year-old, so they're
Okay.
super self-sufficient. So it's not like they're little and I have to take care of them. So everyone did their own thing during the day. We each had our own side of the house. But you know, I think a lot of people, either you grew from that time of that pandemic. Either you made that choice to grow or you either sank. And I made the choice
Mm.
to grow internally, my self-worth as a woman. Uh, I've always been confident, but I think I got a lot more confident in that. And I could tell even like in my business dealings, like when I walk in, like, oh, okay, a room of 25 CEOs, no problem. I've got you all. So my confidence definitely grew. And I was able now to, when I started dating again, like, I see what you're doing to me. No, 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 you're love bombing me. Or no, I see what you're doing. You're doing that. No, this is not right. And the most important part was to use my voice.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I've had to learn that one along the way, that
Ah,
that ways that I would self-sabotage was finding ways to quiet my own voice. I wasn't suppressed by others. I was suppressing my own voice. And that's not fair for my ultimate um, ideal lifestyle at all.
exactly. And that's what we tend to do. It's not others that suppress your voice. And you hit it right there. You hit the nail on the head. It's us. We stop that
Mm.
voice and then we feel it in
Hmm.
our throat, and we shouldn't. You should,
Hmm.
you can still say your feelings and you can deliver them. It's all in the delivery as well, and how you approach it with your partner or the person that you're dating. There's
Hmm.
very nice ways of saying it and approaching it, and that becomes a healthy discussion or a healthy talk between you two. But you should never suppress your voice. And yeah, we tend to do that to ourselves, which is not
Right. Right. And we could probably go down the track
good.
of ghosting, like people
Oh,
choosing not to have
yeah.
that conversation because they're afraid of what that conversation is going to feel like.
Yeah.
I went out with somebody recently 4 times. This is probably the most dates I've had with one person since
Oh.
my last relationship ended.
Mhm.
And after the fourth date, just wasn't feeling that connection that I'm looking for. And
Mhm.
instead of ghosting, which is lacking courage
Yep.
and suppressing my own voice, I chose to make the hard phone call. And it was really a good opportunity for me to face a fear of mine when it comes to relationships. Um, and I was proud of myself for that.
Yeah, absolutely. You should be proud of yourself. I think that's very mature, and most of all, it's very healthy. That's extremely healthy. And that's great. Yeah, because I've had those instances of ghosting. And then lo and behold, they always come back. I'll tell you that. They always come back. And I'm like, you don't even deserve a response at this point.
Mm,
You know,
mhm.
you didn't have the courage as a man to do what you did, which was the proper thing to do, the healthy thing to do. And I'm sure it didn't feel good on her end, but I'm sure at the end, or if she doesn't realize it now, she will eventually realize it. Like, wow, that was a courageous thing for him to do. That was a very mature thing for him to do.
Yeah, thank you very much for that reflection. And as you reflect back to me, I heard the response like, okay, hey, I really enjoyed getting to know you. I'm just not feeling the connection that I'm looking for. And what surprised me is her response. She said, same.
Oh, okay.
And what I took away from that is, well, would somebody continue to date me if they're not feeling that connection that they're looking for out of fear of having the conversation or fear of rejection?
Mm,
And do I see that in my own behavior as well?
okay.
Right? Would we just continue to keep casually dating each other, even though neither one of us feel the connection? And
Yeah.
it really surprised me when she said same.
Mhm.
I was like, okay, all right, this is an opportunity for me to learn something new about myself and how I show up when I date.
Or it could have been a trigger response. Sometimes we speak through our ego. And no matter what,
Mm-hmm,
work as much as we can on our ego. We're human. We all have ego.
mm-hmm.
At the
We
end,
do. We
no
do.
matter what, we can work and we can be so, zen and so like I'm on a different level, but we have an ego at the end of the day. So it could have been that as well.
Yeah, and I certainly considered that for a moment.
Mhm.
And what I didn't want to do was like decide for somebody else's experience, make that call for what her experience was like. But I can also show up in that moment for myself and
Mhm.
say, what can I take away from this? And how can I learn that moving forward?
Yeah.
I've ended a situationship in the past because
Mhm.
I had to be the stronger one in order to end it because it wasn't
Yeah.
authentic to me. And it
Yeah.
was hard,
Mhm.
but I had a gut instinct that was like, if I don't end this, no one will. And I
Yeah.
have to
Oh,
I
goodness.
have to stand up with my voice, be courageous, and say, this is not what I'm looking for.
Yes. And I love that you brought up, I had to listen to my gut because
Hmm.
so many of us do not listen to our intuition, do not listen to our gut. It is screaming at the top of our lungs, and we don't go there.
Hmm.
So that is, to me, at least for me, that is the number one and the biggest, like, compass, like internal compass or indicator of this does not feel right. And,
Hmm.
you know, I got to get myself out of this situation. So I
Hmm.
love that.
Yeah, thank you very much. So you mentioned you have a couple of children. Was it the 20-year-old that brought the TV show idea to you?
She did. My daughter Brianna. So my daughter Brianna came to me. She always tells me that I make the wrong choices in men. And she also tells me that I focus too much on just one person that I'm dating. I've tried to explain to her. Now she understands after the TV show, and we'll get into that.
Hmm.
But I would try to explain to her, you dating as a 20-year-old is so much different than me dating as a woman in my 40s. I can maybe do, in the past, I've done okay. I can date one guy and, two guys, but I'm dating him, maybe, guy A for maybe 2 dates, guy three for 3 dates. And then I'm like, I got to make a decision because this is just too much for me. And I'm not the type of woman that I'm not going to be kissing this one and kissing that one and being with, that's not me. That's just me. That's not me. And so she didn't understand. She thought I should be going out like, and I tried it once. I go, I'm going to prove this point. And literally, Dave, I had dates from like Tuesday to like Sunday. And by date 3, I was done. I'm like, I can't handle this. This is ridiculous with different dates, with different men. And I was like, I'm exhausted. I can't keep up. I was like, this is not for me. But I think there comes a time that if you're dating, if you're dating 2 people, or you've gone on some dates, and you say, well, I enjoy both, both people's company, but I kind of like, I resonate and there's more in common with guy B. There's a lot more. There's values and morals and just compatibility and chemistry. I'm gonna go with guy B, and that's who I'm gonna give my attention to. So she says that's focusing on one person. I don't. I say that's dating over 40. So maybe I'm wrong.
Or dating with intention as well.
Dating with intention, exactly. If I,
Hmm.
I mean, if I want, or I think any woman, or it's different because usually the men who are the ones who set the dates up. But I think I'm going to speak for women, because I'm a woman. I think think any woman, if you want 3 and 4 dates a week, that's not an issue. You know, that can be had, but are you dating with intention? Or are you dating just to go out and make meaningless conversation and just have company? If I'm going to give you my time, I want it to be someone who I'm going to have, you know, who deserves that company, and I deserve his company. So, I mean, it goes both ways. So yes, so getting back to the dating show is, she says that I would do this. So she came to me, she saw the notice or the ad on Instagram. So there was do you want to help your parents, college age kids, do you want to help your parents find love a second time? And so she brought it to me, and I said, first of all, it's probably not even legit. It doesn't even say who the production company is. It doesn't say it just, that's all it said basically. And a picture of like 2 older people, like with little hearts above their heads. And then she's like, come on, mom, you never know. Cause it said for like a major streaming platform. That's all it said.
Okay.
And so
you were skeptical from the beginning?
Of course. I mean, this is on Instagram, really. So, and finally said, come on, mom, let's just do it. What do we have to lose? We can always say no at the end. I said, you know what? Go ahead, because we're not even going to get picked anyways. I said, so go ahead. They're not going to choose us. So she sent off the email to the production company, which was like, it wasn't even like you could tell the production company. They made it like a Gmail, like, so you couldn't even tell who the production company was. It ended up being a huge production company, but they didn't want you to do your research, basically.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. And so she sent it off, and then we got an email back, and from emails, there was phone calls, and from phone calls became Zoom calls with producers. And literally it was like a whirlwind of like, on a Thursday, pack your bags, Monday, we're taking you to LA, you're part of the cast. And so that's how we got on. It's called My Mom, Your Dad. It's streaming now on HBO Max. And it is created by the executive producers of The Office and the creators of Parks and Recs. So, you know, there's a lot of funny and cringeworthy and heartwarming moments. It's great. So it's college age children who nominate their parents in their 40s and 50s to try to find love for a second time, a reality dating series. Yeah.
That's fascinating to me. So what was your first emotion that showed up when you got picked for the show?
I was like, I don't ever curse, but I was like, holy, this is happening. I'm like, am I going to go through with this? Because I know everything. You know, I've been in the entertainment business since I was 15 years old. So I know, and that was before social media. When I was in the entertainment business, that was before social media. It's a different world now. So I was like, what animal am I getting myself into? What am I getting myself into? And I was like, you know what? We came this far. I believe everything happens for a reason. That's my thoughts. Everything happens for a reason. You meet people for a reason. Every person that comes into your life is for a reason, whether it's small or large. And I said, okay, this is supposed to be happening in my life. I have tried to be, you know, my friends have tried to set me up. Business associates have tried to set me up. Family members have tried to set me up. I've done reluctantly the online dating. You know, I've met people out, you know, at restaurants, just walking into a restaurant. I met a guy that I had dated in the past. And I said, you know what? All right, I'm going to do this on TV. Let's go. I'm going to show America. Let's go right now. And it was, yeah, that was it. And basically I didn't have time to think. It was basically packing, and I had to leave, you know, shut down my business basically for that time. It was a 6-week period. And, you know, leave my son, who's 13, taken care of. Thank God my family is amazing. And my sister and my brother-in-law moved right into my condo, and they were happy as could be. It was a free vacation for them because, like I said, I live on the beach. So it was, so everything aligned perfectly. So that's where I needed to be in my life at that moment.
Yeah. So it sounds like you were in disbelief in the beginning. And then when you showed up to the TV show, was it like what your daughter was describing you should be dating?
The men, or just the TV show in general?
I would say like the structure of how they were putting you guys together. Like, it sounds like there's many men and many women on the show getting paired up by their children.
Yes. Well, it started out, it was the original 7, and it was 3 women and 4 men that came in at first. Basically we're thinking we're being dropped, or I'm thinking, I'm gonna speak for myself, that I'm being dropped off by my daughter at this retreat called Second Chance Retreat. And she's dropping me off, and she's like, here you go. You're off at dating camp. Have fun.
Dating camp.
Dating camp, which I go, no, I want man camp, not dating camp. So, and we actually think, you know, that I thought, which is what the producers told us, The kids are going off to another house and we're not seeing them. We have no communication from them or the outside world for 6 weeks.
Okay.
Everything is taken away from you. So at this point, I'm thinking, okay, she's going to this other house because they told us that she would be creating content, like social media content about being raised, by a single mother, and what is it to be a child of divorce, and then kind of also telling them, things my mom likes to do on dates, or this is what attracts my mom. That wasn't the case.
Mm-hmm.
So they ended up being our dating consultants. They kept telling us dating consultants. The producers kept telling us it was actually the children manipulating, controlling, meddling, putting
From
you
afar,
on.
from a distance.
They watched our every move for 24 hours a day, basically. And they controlled who you went out with, who you didn't go out with. If you were getting along with someone and you were a little getting along too much, and they thought that, no, my mom needs to be dating someone else because she's putting too much effort into that person, which that happened to me.
So how did that show up for the two of you?
I didn't know it was her.
Okay.
All these weird things kept happening. We didn't know until we left the show. Then the producer said, the dating consultants were your children.
And what was your first emotion there?
Oh my God. I was like, what? I was like, no. And then I started going through my head. What did I do? What did I say? Oh my God. I was thinking back every moment of the dates I had or conversations I had, because I think, Dave, we act different with people we're either on dates with or dating than we do with our children.
Okay, understood. Yeah.
There's different. There's different relationships in different way. There's your mom hat, and then for me, there's my mom hat, and then here's my woman hat, my Karen hat, my dating hat. So it's not that you're a different person. It's just like, you're a little different when you're dating. It is a different, a different relationship. And so I started thinking of all those things and oh my God, she saw me say these things. Or, in one of my dates that I went on, the guy was trying to get me to do something. And I was like, and I don't want to spoil it for anyone who hasn't seen the show yet, but I was like, so I don't want to say what we were doing, but I turned the tables on him and I'm like, oh no, you turn me on. You show me what a man you are. Cause he was trying to get me to do something. So I turned it on him and I'm like, oh my God, she saw me saying these things. And so, yeah, it was a little cringy for the parents at the end.
Sure, I can understand that.
Yeah.
So what were your thoughts of like my dating consultant is telling me to do this? What kind of pushback did you give to your dating consultant, with air quotes there, who ended up being your daughter?
Well, I had a very strong connection with a particular man on the show immediately. We both did. And they kept trying to tear us apart.
The kids did. Your dating consultant
kept trying to tear us apart, and they kept trying to sabotage things. And we were like, nope, not happening. And it kept coming back because there's a lot of chemistry and a lot of connection there. And so we kept coming back to each other, and it was like, no, not happening. So, they tried twice to try to make love triangles. And I'm like, I'm in my 40s. I'm not even dealing with a love triangle here. I'll walk away.
Right.
And he was the same thing. He's like, there's no one else that interests me here. So it was, it was, to say the least. Then everything made sense. Oh, now I know why these things happened. Okay, now I get it.
So let me ask you a clarifying question. I'm super curious about this. Your daughter gets you on the show to help show you what dating should be like, right?
Yes.
Then she observes you getting a true, honest connection, whether that's first impression, love at first sight, an attachment that shows up, whatever it was.
Yes. And
she sees you having that connection that she wants for you, but then also decides that she wants to come between that. Like what shows up for you when I asked that clarifying question?
I was like, what is this? I know. That's what, once I found out it was her, I was like, seriously? She's like, I needed you to go out and explore other options to make sure that that's the one option that you were really connecting with. And I said, okay, I see your point, but when you see the other side, you kind of say, okay, what am I doing? And they did lay off at the end. So they were like, okay, this is not happening here, where we're not making any headway. They're very determined. So yeah.
So did your dating consultant, air quotes again, lose credit? Did they lose credibility in your mind along the way? Like, this person's supposed to be a professional consultant, and I don't trust what they're telling me to do.
While we were on the show filming?
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. And it's actually in one of the episodes that the person that I'm with, we were like, well, what are these dating consultants doing? Why are they trying to put roadblocks instead of trying to see if this is a true connection and bring you closer and cultivate that and see if it is a true connection? Or like you said, was it just, a lust thing or a love at first sight? Or is there that compatibility and, everything that goes along with that? So yeah, we even questioned it at that point, but.
Well, good for you. It sounds very adult, like, and it sounds like dating with intention is a theme throughout your life and throughout your experience.
Yeah.
And I agree with your daughter that having options when dating initially in the first part of dating is a good thing.
Yes.
Because I'll reflect back to you, dating person, guy A and guy B, you're dating 2 or 3 dates.
Yes.
And you get this mind, body, intuition and connection for yourself of like, how do I feel when I'm around A and B, and I'm going to have the best option for myself and I'm going to choose that option.
Yeah.
So if you blend the two ideas together, the philosophies of dating between what your daughter thinks of dating and what you think of dating, then it sounds like that helps you make the choice.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Yes, I do feel that. I do feel that. I just can't be dating 3 and 4 guys. It's not me. And you know what? Maybe I don't even feel it from A and B, and I say goodbye to both of them, and I continue dating other. It doesn't necessarily mean that I'm going to end up with A or B. And I say either one is the right choice for me at this moment. I'm going to continue dating. So, and see what else is, if there's any other connections out there, and if not, I'm also a person who, in the past, and I have no problems dating myself. So I'll take myself out to dinner. I have no problem. I've traveled with myself. So it's definitely, like you said, dating with intention, not dating just to spend time. Yeah.
Yeah, I get that completely. And you said earlier, when you went out on those 3 or 4 dates back to back to back, you were exhausted by date number 3.
Yes.
And it sounds a lot like, it sounds as if you have a lot of self-awareness around where that comes from. Like an introvert would be exhausted by small talk, and first dates are a lot of small talk.
Yeah.
So was it the small talk, or was it really just the time that you were investing in people you didn't know very well for first dates? Which one kind of feels like the exhausting part?
I mean, I think both. I mean, I'm a person that if we're on a date, I'm not looking at what's going on behind me. I'm not looking at the people that are passing by. I'm not listening to the conversation behind me. I am really focused and like, this is the person I'm with, and I'm going to give you my time because that's what we're there for. And whether it turns into a second date, or whether it turns into a friendship, or whether it turns to, thank you so much, it was great getting to know you, but I don't feel a connection, but I am going to seriously put 100% and put my effort into that moment. So that to me takes up a lot of energy, because I'm actually putting myself in that moment and being present with the person in front of me. The talk, also the small talk, I've been on dates where the talk is nonstop and it's amazing and it's effortless. And then there's other ones that you have to really think about it, and you're, okay, I'm listening, you're listening, and you should listen to hear them. You shouldn't listen to answer. You shouldn't be like, I'm listening so I know the response I'm going to say to him. No, listen to what he's saying, take a second, and or for men, to the women, think about what they're saying, and then, okay, you can digest that, not too long, because then you're going to seem weird, but take a few seconds and then be able to answer, and not just listen to answer, to respond to them. So, I mean, it takes a lot for me. So yes, so by day 3, I mean, date 3, it was, it's me being present, my time, the small talk, the effort, the oh my gosh, even the getting dressed. Getting dressed up, putting makeup on. You guys, it's so easy. You shower, you do your hair with a little bit of gel, put a little cologne on, some nice shirt, and you're out the door. For women, it's a little more, at least for me, it's a little bit more. And I mean, also I'm Latina, so I'm always like, you tell me something casual, I'm showing up in a ball gown, Dave.
That's hilarious.
I'll still have a great time at the ball game with you, but
you're going to look good doing it. Got it.
I'm going to go in my ball gown.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying about being present on the date and how much energy that takes up. I was waiting on a first date recently for the other person to show up. And
I was listening to the date of the conversation and the date of the table next to me while I was waiting.
Yeah.
And you could tell it was a first date,
Mm-hmm.
and you could tell it was going fairly well.
Mm-hmm.
And it was entertaining for me for the first 15 or 20 minutes that I waited for my date.
Yeah.
As soon as my date showed up, it was a shift in my focus. I no longer heard what the conversation of the table was going on next to me.
Mm-hmm.
I was able to remain present with the person I wanted to spend time with. You know, I didn't go on the date to listen to the table next to me.
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
And that presence is the start, or it's a part of qualifying how I feel with this person, of like,
Mm-hmm.
do I get into my body, or am I in my head the whole time?
Yes.
Am I
Yeah.
thinking about how I want to respond, or is that response coming from this mind-body connection that I have while I'm present?
Yes. Yes. And that is so important, because I think, and it took me a lot to realize this, and that was with a lot of my inner healing. You know, obviously we love to make first impressions, you know, but I'm going to give you who I am as a person, and I'm going to respond to you then, because if I don't, like, to me, um, who am I going to be if we're dating for like 2 months after? I always say, like, about the 2 to 3 month mark is like when I always say the mask comes off and you start to get comfortable. That's what I've always found with people I've dated. And I'm like, if I'm just who I am from the beginning, yes, of course, we always put our best foot forward in the first date because we're nervous and we don't know, and you have those butterflies. But I think you really should try to be the most authentic that you can be, and be yourself from the beginning. And I think that, for me at least, that takes a lot of pressure off when that 2 to 3 month mark comes.
Mm-hmm.
You kind of, and I'd rather him see how I am in the beginning and say, you know what, she's for me or she's not for me, than me invest those 2 to 3 months and all of a sudden, like, wow, my feelings are really invested, and he didn't jive with me. And that's okay. That's okay too. You have to be able to accept that. So yeah. And I think that when you're on dates, people, they're just, they don't hear what you're saying they just want to listen to what you're saying to respond. Am I going to respond the right thing? How can I respond so he likes me better? And that's not good. Just be yourself.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I love how you phrase that, of I would rather be my authentic self showing up on the first date, so that, from what it sounded like, that saves you time. It saves you energy. It saves your heart a little bit.
Yeah.
If I'm not for you, then
Mhm.
let me know, because rejection is just redirection.
Yeah, absolutely. And that person wasn't for you. Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah, absolutely.
And before we hit record, you and I were chatting about what makes modern dating so challenging. And we touched on fear. And
Mhm.
this part of the conversation that you and I are having now is based on fear.
Yeah.
I'm afraid that if this person sees who I really am, they
Mhm.
won't like me.
Exactly. Yes.
And then we
Yeah.
wear that mask for 2 or 3 months, and then we're rejected anyways at the 3-month mark, because then we show up authentically. And it's like, well, now the mask is removed. Who is this person that's in front of me?
Yes. Yes. And that, to me, that's the worst. I'd rather know how you are. I mean, obviously the first date, people are always like, oh, perfection. But, like, getting into it, I would rather you answer me like who you are authentically, and then me go, okay, I align with this, or I don't align with him on this, or I see our lifestyles are not the same, or maybe our morals are not the same, or who we are compatible. There's so many things that go into a relationship, but I'd rather see that, like, within the first few dates, and save my time, and kind of, I don't want to waste someone's time, and I don't want my time wasted. I don't think we're at the age that we should be wasting time, because you can always,
Mm.
I have a really great friend. I went on 2 dates with him. There was just no compatibility there. He understood that, when I told him, listen, I think you're a great guy, you're just not the guy for me.
Mhm.
He understood that, and lo and behold, we're going on like 2 years of an amazing friendship. And he'll call me and he'll ask advice about women, and I'll tell him. And even the little silliness of, hey, did you see this? Did you see that? Whatever, even like television shows, or did you see this on the internet? And I think that's just great, because you end up finding people like that sometimes as well, that you connect with on a friendship level versus a romantic level.
Mhm.
Be your authentic self. Mhm.
Yeah, everything happens for a reason, as you said earlier.
Yeah.
And if this person comes into my life, what is the reason? Is it platonic? Is it
Yeah.
romantic? Is
Mhm.
it a lesson that we can learn?
So many lessons, Dave.
So many lessons. Now you're preaching to my choir over here. Like that's everything that shows up for me, you know? And
Mhm.
if I see a repeated pattern in my dating experience, I can take a look at that. You know, there are certain isolated incidents where like, oh, I just didn't make sure that this person was a good fit for me before we went out on a first date. There's a
Yeah,
lesson there.
there is.
Or after the first date, how do I show up? How do I ask for the second?
Yes. Now, when you said that when you've seen repeated patterns, do you go back to yourself and say, "What am now I'm the interviewer."
Please, yeah, that it's a two-way conversation here, you
Do
know?
you go back to yourself and say, "Hold on, what is it within myself that I'm attracting this repeated pattern, and how can I adjust this within myself so I don't find this again?"
Every
Or do
single
you
time.
Okay, so that's great. Because some people will be like, "Oh no, I just attracted that person again," and they don't realize what is it saying? What you resist persists.
Yes,
So
absolutely.
what
And the
what is
only,
it that's coming back? You
yeah,
know? Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. And that was a reflection that I received after the fourth date.
Mhm.
Um, there were two great dates where we felt deeply connected. You know, both of us felt the same in
Mhm.
order to get another date after that. That was pretty much how I was approaching the dating experience, is like, do I like myself when I'm around them? Do I
Yeah.
like them enough to ask for another date?
Yes.
And it came down to the fourth date, and I saw, some people would call it a red flag, others would call it a deal breaker.
Okay.
I saw a pattern in who I choose show
Mm,
up, and
okay.
I was choosing another unavailable person.
Ah,
Okay, now I can look inward and say, what is it about me that attracts unavailable people in this way?
yes.
And thankfully, I think the next day I had men's
Mhm.
group. I got reflections there.
Yep.
The day after that, or I think I had my counseling session and my men's group on the same day, the day after this date.
Okay.
And I got the chance to just voice what I experienced.
Mhm.
And based on their reflection, I knew my answer. And
Yeah.
that's how I knew that I was going to call her up and say, hey, I'm just not feeling the connection.
Yeah. And sometimes we need that. We need that feedback, or we need to voice what we're thinking. Then you have your aha moment. Ah, okay. Now I get it. That's, this is where I went wrong, or this is where I'm going wrong, or you find,
Mhm,
like you said, you saw that repeated pattern and what you needed to do.
mhm.
So yeah. And I love that you said that you went to counseling. So you went to counseling. You're going to counseling.
Yes,
I
I've been
that's
with my current counselor for 13 or 14 months now.
yeah. And I think a lot of people still find that I don't know what the right word is. I don't want to say taboo, but they find that like, oh, counselor, that's not a good thing. And I'm like, I think that's the best thing.
So
So
there's still a stigma around it.
I think there's a stigma around
Mhm,
it. And I think that's so wonderful. It doesn't necessarily mean that you have issues. It means you're doing self-growth on yourself,
mhm,
and you're going in there to reflect. It may not be, you may go into a session, it may not even be about romantic. It might be about like, oh my God, this week that I happened and this is how I messed up business wise, but you're getting that outlet to release. You can release
mhm.
with your friends, but I'm going to tell you something. And I always say this, your friends are always going to be like, oh no, Dave, she should not have done that, because they'll always give you, like, they'll always be on your side no matter what, 9 out of 10 times. As to where a counselor is going to be very objective, and it's just going to be very neutral with you. And you're going to be able to voice them. Like you said, you voiced it, and then, aha, the light bulb went off. This is what I
Mhm.
need to do. So I think that's so healthy. That's great.
Yeah, thank
I
you.
applaud you. And especially for a man, I applaud that. Yes, that's awesome.
Thank you very much for that. And now that you bring that up in that way, I choose
Mhm.
counseling and my men's group for one really good reason. And
Mhm.
it's because there are boundaries there. The
Yeah.
boundary that exists in my counseling session and my men's group is, this one's the most important to me, is that we agree not to give each other unsolicited advice. And
Yeah.
in my counseling session that day, why it was so transformative for me is
Mhm.
because my counselor understands, we've been working together long enough. He understands
Yep.
how to ask me the right questions in order for me to make the best decision for myself,
Yes.
keeping my agency and my sovereignty and my integrity aligned with my next choice.
Mhm.
And what he was saying in the counseling session was more to dig deeper into me, because intimacy is into me, I see.
Yes.
And there's very few more intimate relationships than the one I have with my counselor or my partner. And it's more professional in the counseling session setting.
Yeah.
But it's still intimacy because I get to look inward here and understand that I'm still choosing that unavailability or that unavailable trait in the partners that I would go out with.
Yes.
And I'm like, enough is enough. I'm going to stop it here, even though I've already invested time in 4 dates.
Yes. Yeah.
Because that's the best choice for me.
Absolutely. Yeah. And a lot of people think like, well, and I love that you did that, because a lot of people think, I already put 4 dates in. Oh my gosh, I got to start on date 1 if I go to another person. And a relationship will go on for 4 years from those 4 dates. And it wasn't the person for them. So.
And it sounds as if like, it sounds like if a person doesn't want to start over on a first date, maybe a break from dating is a good idea, because of that exhausted nature of that statement. Oh, I don't want to start over.
Yeah.
Which is true. No one really wants to start over. And yet, even if a relationship ends after 4 dates, 4 months, 4 years, was it a failure? No, not necessarily, because unless we didn't learn anything about ourselves and how to interact with another person.
Yeah, it's all about the lessons. What can I take from this for myself? What did I learn from this? What did I learn from this for myself? What did I learn that I didn't do correct? And what did I learn that I did correct, and reflect back on that. Definitely. Yeah. No one wants to start over. Who wants to start over? No one, but life lessons. Definitely.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. And I think we'll end it on that note today. If somebody wants to get a hold of you because your message resonated with them today, what's the best way for them to engage with you?
On my Instagram account, which is KMLM21. I'm on Instagram. I love to connect with people. So yeah, definitely.
Awesome. And what kind of a resource could you be for those people? Like, what do you do professionally, or what do you do that they would find on your Instagram to be helpful?
I mean, on my Instagram, I do put like some personal things on there. I do a lot of like motivational for women. I think a lot of women that I've spoken with and that I've been able to counsel is they think their life ends after 40, or they think their life ends after a divorce, or, they think my marriage ended because the kids left, and who the heck is my husband at this point, So, a lot of motivation for women. Life does not end after 40. Life does not end because you got divorced. You can reinvent yourself after 40. I never thought after 40 I'd be on a national hit TV show, and enjoying life so much, but hey, it happens. So we can definitely, just to motivate. And I've even had some men reach out to me and is like, this is what's happening in my relationship. And what do I do? And what can you counsel me with? So definitely, I think I'd love to connect on the dating aspect, and our life doesn't end because we're 40 or 50. Our life begins at that point, and move forward in life.
Yeah.
Positivity every which way, and mental, and live in gratitude and abundance. So.
Yeah, very well said. Thanks again for coming to spend the time with me, Karen. It was a pleasure to chat with you.
Yes, you too, Dave. Have a great Saturday.
Awesome. I'll talk to you soon.
Bye. Yes. Bye.